Yo, what up? It's me. I'm back with some more video content. This time it's pain and suffering. If you watched the last video on the IDE to SATA adapter, you probably recognize this piece of garbage computer. This is an HP, what is this piece of crap? This is an HP 500B mid-tower computer, but it's had a couple of upgrades since then. It still has the same Pentium E6600 in it, but now it has a GeForce 8600 GT that I bought from a used computer store for about $15 the other day. And it's also got another place to plug in a hard drive because it has 2 hard drives in it now. The 500 gig drive is installed right here, and then we also have this. This is a 160 gigabyte Hitachi that is purely used for booting, and that's it. There's no operating system installed on this whatsoever. It's just used for booting. Now you might be wondering, what the hell kind of weird configuration are we running if we need a separate drive for booting? If you read the title, you probably already know. This is a Hackintosh. Specifically, it's the Crapintosh 2. The first Crapintosh was when we installed Snow Leopard on a Pentium 4. This is another Pentium, low-end, never meant to run macOS. It'll make a pretty good Mac, but this computer is fucking horrible. No matter how you do it, this thing will not boot a GPT formatted disk. You have to have an MBR disk for booting. This is where this guy comes in. This is just a generic hard drive that's only purpose is to be an MBR bootable disk, so this thing can boot the macOS homebrew bootloader. So we're gonna run through the process of setting this up, get it ready to go, and yeah. So let's put the side panel back on, and we'll get started. You might be wondering, why did I decide to make this into a Hackintosh? Honestly, I don't really have a reason. It just came about after I bought the 8600 GT, because I bought that because I wanted this thing to have a nice graphics upgrade, and it was like $15, and it turns out there was a Mac edition of that card, so it has a native OS X support, and yeah, it's a dual DVI version, so I just have one of these stupid ass DVI to HDMI, or DVI to VGA adapters plugged in the back of it. So I'm gonna go get this hooked up, ready to go, and we'll get started with the macOS setup. Alright, so we have everything set up. I have the computer plugged into the monitor here. Let me try to focus it. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna run gparted for this system, just so I can erase everything. I hate that computer's disk drive, dude. You have to like fight it to make sure the disk goes in. Anyway, so we're gonna boot from the DVD drive first. Press enter to accept the default settings. Let me see, can I get that to focus? There we go. That's better. Nice and focused on the text now. So this is, boot. Gparted is a really fancy partition editor, so that's why I like to use it for these things. It's simple to use, simple to figure out. Yeah. So this is going to take a couple minutes to boot. We'll be back once this thing's booted. Alright, here's gparted. So what we're going to do first and foremost is this. So this is the drive that we're going to boot from, and it's kind of small. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. So this is the drive we're going to boot from. So we're going to make a new partition table of type MS-DOS. Then basically, we're just going to make a new FAT32 partition, and we'll call it sysboot. We'll make it 2 gigabytes, because we don't really need that much disk space. Then we can allocate the rest as like I don't know, just an HFS bullshit partition, so that we can have storage space on this drive for later, just because it would be nice to have some storage. So then we can close that, and then here on sysboot we need to manage flags, and we need to enable the boot flag. And there we go, now it's set to boot. So then we can switch to this drive, and I was trying to do some like dull booting stuff with opencore, and it's just, no, it doesn't work in legacy boot mode. So we're just gonna blow up this entire partition table. Boom. And that's all we need for that. So we can double click the exit and reboot. Wants me to take the disk out. I can zoom out. There we go. Come on. Focus on the text. There we go. So I can take disk out. And we got this USB stick. This is pre-set up with opencore, and basically all I had to do was I identified what hardware this used with IDA64. Then I went on opencore's website and downloaded all of the texts I needed. Then I followed the entire guide for Penrin for writing the config file, and then I put it on this USB stick. And I made it MBR with an active partition because the guide says to use a GPT disk, but I could not get that to boot. So we're gonna plug this stick into the USB port and press enter. Now it's gonna reboot. So we can press escape, load the boot menu, and from there we can select generic flash disk, and we'll get a boot mismatch error, but then it will boot into the opencore bootloader, and then this monitor will complain about the resolution because this monitor stinks. So let me just press menu. Oh shit, no, wait. There we go. So, as you can see, we have installed Mavericks. I decided to put Mavericks on here because it's a cool OS. It's unlike any other Hackintosh or Mac that I actually have. So, this is gonna boot, and once it boots, we'll be right back. Alright, so let me, oh shit, I bumped the tripod. Let me zoom in just a little bit again, and then adjust. So this is the OS X installer screen, but there's a couple of things we need to do first. First, we need to open a terminal, because if the computer's clock, if we type date, we can see it's set to 2024, but Mavericks' certificate expired, so it won't be able to install. So to fix that, we set the date to 02/02/02/02/16, and we have time traveled back to 2016, which is good enough for now. The next thing, we're going to go to disk utility, because we're going to set up our partition. Here is our 500 gigabyte WDC, so we can go to partition. And options, we want to make sure a GUID is selected. Then one partition. This will be called Macintosh HD. Make sure it's macOS extended journaled. And we can click apply. Partition. This will partition the disk. To have one partition where we install macOS. Also, while we're here, we're going to enable journaling, which is right here, enable journaling. And there we go. Now we can just quit disk utility, install OS X, MacOS X Mavericks, continue, I agree, It looks really dark. I hope it's not that dark on the recording. It'll probably be fine. So then we pick our hard disk, which we partitioned. Here it is, Macintosh HD, 499 gigs free. Install. My future plan for this system is I want to get like a really tiny SSD, like 32 gigabytes or something. So then that way I can have a tiny boot drive and then have like 30 gigs or something, 3 for storing stuff on a faster drive. I need 2 drives because this HP's fucking BIOS is actually miserable. You try and get it to boot anything besides an MBR disk, which MBR is the partition table used by BIOS, and then GPT is what's used by the newer UEFI BIOSes. If you try and get it to boot anything that isn't an MBR disk, it will just ignore it. I do not like this thing's BIOS. It's such a pain in the ass. Anyway, this is gonna take a little moment to install. So instead of making you sit through the entire loading bar procedure, we're just gonna cut this out and then come back once this part of the installer is done. You know, for being stuck on about a second remaining, despite saying about 1 second remaining, it's been on the screen for at least like 15 minutes or something. I mean, I got fucking YouTube on my smart TV going, and it's been like 15 minutes of just watching random bullshit, waiting for this to go. I swear, it normally doesn't take this long. I even opened the install log trying to figure out if something broke, but no, this is just what it does. It sits on about a second remaining for an insanely long time, and then it eventually just goes and then reboots, but I have no idea how long that's gonna take at this rate, so be glad I'm cutting all this out, because this would be a lot of loading screen footage that would either get sped up or probably just cut out anyway, because like loading screen footage is insanely boring. Alright, so this is what it does when it's about to reboot. The progress bar goes away and it switches to about 0 seconds remaining. So, come on. Come on. What are we waiting for? Reboot. There we go. As soon as you get the cursor, that means it's exited the UI and it's back to console spew. Or I guess this is X and U spew, because that's what the macOS kernel is called. X and U. Yeah, this thing's not very fast installing macOS, but once you get macOS installed, it's pretty nippy. It goes pretty fast for being on a. So this is like a Wolfdale Pentium. It runs at 3-ish gigahertz. It's a Pentium E6600. It's not that bad of a Pentium, honestly. I mean, okay. The other thing that happens is rebooting doesn't work, so I have to hold the power button and then turn it back on. But yeah, it's a surprisingly capable little machine for what it is. Okay, so then we select the generic flash disk again. Boot mismatch, technically this is an error, but it's fine because opencore boots anyway. I don't really like using opencore on legacy systems, but it's whatever. Damn it. Anyway, the way this thing installs is first you boot the install Mavericks thing once, and then you boot it again, but this time instead of like doing what it did before, it actually runs it should run the second phase installer, which we'll see if that actually happens here. NVDA. Sorry, I'm a little tired. And there's our mouse cursor, and the screen comes on, And then in theory, so the mouse works. Yep. The pointer is moving. So then we just wait for this thing to finish booting. Come on. You can do it, I know you want to. And there we go. This is the second part of the installer where it switches to this install OS X screen. And it has the, you can see. Now this is going to take about 30 minutes to install. So the first part of the installer, I guess, was just writing the like absolute bare minimum to the hard drive, and then this is the second phase of the installer. Oops, I bumped the tripod, where it actually installs the operating system. So this is gonna take a while, so we'll be back once this is pretty much done. Alright, we're back. The install has finished. It took like half an hour or more, I don't know. I just watched a bunch of garbage time videos because good stuff. Anyway, let me turn off the computer because reset doesn't work. Power off actually ends up working, but reset does not work at all. Anyway, so we have to boot the USB stick again. So we come down here, pick generic flash disk. There's our boot mismatch error, which means we are booting. And now on the menu, instead of just the installer, yes, Macintosh HD. So we can boot that. Shut up, that will go away later. Yeah, it's gonna complain about the Realtek Kex not wanting to work, but we can fix that later. And here we are, here's the setup, so we can just run through the setup. I have a US keyboard, not connected to your net. We're gonna zoom in slightly. Not connected to your net because the internet Kex is not working yet. Don't transfer my information. I agree to the software license agreement. We can input my user information. And we can pick a cool looking, we'll pick the penguin. I like the penguin. Don't need any of that crap. And then we need to set my time zone to, we'll set it to Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, because this is where my time zone is on the map. And there we go. I have the SM BIOS set to reported iMac, so it thinks it's an iMac, but it's not an iMac. I am gaslighting this into thinking it is an iMac, but it is actually an HP. And here we are. This is the Mavericks desktop. So we could move some of this crap out of the way. And Finder, Preferences. I want to show hard disks on desktop. So this is our primary MacOS disk where we keep all of our Mac shit. Then this is sysboot. This is where we will put our boot files. So before we do that, we have to install an additional utility, which I have on this thumbstick right here. So we can go ahead and plug that into the other USB port that's on the front. Here it is, dank weed. We can go ahead and open that up. Scroll down. It is in the, we can just go to folder. We'll go to volumes, dank weed, Mavericks. There we go. So we need this. That can be helpful for later. Firefox, GIMP. Then we can eject dank weed because we no longer need its assistance. So the first thing we need to do is open sysboot, then open Crapintosh, and then from here, copy boot, EFI, and NVRAM into this folder. Because this flash drive is not the fastest thing in the world, so... Oh, also the audio works. I can turn up the speaker. And as you can see, the audio works. Then we have to go into the legacy boot folder. This ships with your regular copy of opencore. So we're gonna extract some stuff here too. Some of this will be useful later. We can open this. Yeah. This is the newest version of Firefox that will run on Mavericks. Then we can eject and eject that. Then GIMP, we'll install GIMP later. But the first thing we have to do boot install x64.tool. And then here we can see our disks. Let me zoom in. We can see our disks. We need to select the disk 1 drive. So 1. Enter my password. And it's done. So in theory, this should have installed our boot sector. So we can close this, and if we double check sysboot, double check to make sure we still have this here, and we do. Or you can go ahead and, actually we're just gonna leave these here, then we're gonna shut down. Because it takes, sometimes, oh shit, I did not mean to bump the tripod, that's my bad. Sometimes it takes forever to get those USB drives to eject for some reason, so it's faster to just shut down first. CPU halted. There, and then it just shuts off. So we can unplug the USB, press power, and if everything goes to plan, it should be able to boot without the USB stick plugged in. Ooh, did it work? It worked. So this is opencore booting. Remember, booting off of that second hard drive, not this USB stick. So then we can press enter to select Macintosh HD. And yeah, okay, the Realtek text doesn't like to load properly all the time. So to fix that, I'm just gonna install the system library extensions. But yeah, it's really annoying that you need a second hard drive to boot this system, but that's just how the cookie crumbles, I guess. And there we go. Here's my Mavericks installation. As you can see, it just comes right up. Yeah, I have to write that. I am not using an Apple keyboard, I'm using the Dell keyboard. But if we pull down the about this Mac, hit more information, we can see it thinks it's a Core 2 Duo iMac with a NVIDIA card in it, which is pretty good. Then we can click System Report. Here's our graphics and display settings. Here's our GeForce card. Very, very good. And it's on the 16X slot. That's good. And we can use this utility, which I'm going to install into applications really fast. So you just drop this into applications. It is called CPU-X. God, I hate macOS. We're gonna go fix that. Hang on. So we can go to security and privacy, unlock anywhere, allow from anywhere. Yeah, that's fine. As you can see, we can zoom in. This is a Pentium dual-core E6600, 3 GHz on LGA 775. It's a pretty good processor for what it is. It's a Wolfdale chip, but it's lacking SSE 4, so we can only run up to El Capitan, but that's okay, honestly. Then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to get the Ethernet working, because if we look on the network, we have no Ethernet adapter. So because the Realtek Kex doesn't like to work all the time, we have this crappy little tool right here. System Library Extension Kex tool. I just found this on the internet. It is absolutely nothing special, but we could use it to install a Kext. So we just browse to the Kext directory, Realtek, open, enter my password. It doesn't exactly work, but it gets the job done, more or less. Then we have to update. They have to update the plist to disable OpenCore from loading the Kext. So it's right in here, right here. This is the Realtek Kext. We set this. Let me zoom in. Oh. We set this true right here to false. That's good. Then we can close text edit. Yeah, that's fine. I don't care. Then we need to open a. Let me move this into applications. And we need to open a terminal. So terminal. And then I believe it is sudo kex. Yeah, it is kexcache. So sudo kexcache dash update volumes Macintosh HD. This will update the kexcache, allowing the Realtek driver to actually load. Let me adjust the camera a little bit more. There, that should be good enough. So this is going to take a second. And there we go. Should be good to go then. Then if we check disk utility, or if we go here, system, library, extensions, and we look for the Realtek. Here's the Realtek Kext sharing informations. Who owns this? Yep, okay. So once we get this pop up, we know that the Kext is good, or installed correctly. It says blah blah blah, not from identified developer. I do not care. So now we can shut down our Macintosh, or Macintosh. Zoom out. There we go. Adjust the camera. Is it not going to power off? No, okay, I'm going to have to hold the power button. It's a little inconsistent on if it actually correctly powers off or not. Swap subsystem is on, and there's our Ethernet Realtek driver right there. So now we have internet. And as you can see, it will just pop up. Here's my Mac. Enter in my super secure password. Then we can prove we have internet by opening Safari. And we'll go to google.com. And there we go. It works. That's about all I got for this. As you can see, setting up a Hackintosh on this piece of garbage is very frustrating, very annoying, because of all the dumb loopholes you gotta jump through. But other than that, it makes for a nice and reasonably speedy Hackintosh. I hope you found this video interesting or just mildly amusing, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya!